And yo, the Sports Bag Bros podcast is coming back at you on a Monday, coming off of a very interesting weekend of sports, primarily boxing. Something we didn't necessarily talk too much about last week with the impending rematch between Beterbiev and Bivol. The rematch between those two turned out to be spectacular, better than even the first fight. We didn't talk about it enough because last Thursday, if you did tune in, we did our rematch series. And the rematch we watched then was Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalov. I'm about to say Alexei Kovalov, but Sergey Kovalov, their first fight back in 2016. Nevertheless, we're here now. We know what happened now. If you saw the thumbnail, you know what's up. What's good?
What's happening? Hope everyone had a great weekend. I don't know what's going on. I guess I'm just not destined to see Beterbiev and Bivol fight live because I missed the first one and I missed this one again. I had circumstances that didn't allow me to just stay at home and watch. I had to be out. Thought we were gonna find it where I was, but I think it was a delayed signal because they kept showing these fighters that I didn't even know who they were. I was expecting the main event. Main event never came. And then I started getting messages, hey, I think Bivol won. I'm like, what? I'm waiting for the fight to start. So I can't even really talk about it. I tried finding highlights. I did find a couple highlight videos, but the highlights were kind of bogus.
Just enough to get you to click.
I'm right. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If you've looked for highlights before,
oh yeah, with those bad angles and everything.
You've clicked on videos like, man, that's a sorry ass highlight video, but you have found some that have really good highlights. I haven't been able to find any that have really good highlights.
Well, this fight here was a complete highlight in its own. If you thought last fight was a very good fight, I think some people thought it was very good, but not excellent. This fight was excellent, not very good. And the way the ebb and flow went in that fight, and it also demonstrated how much of a superior boxer, how much of an IQ Bivol has. We knew that heading into their first fight, but what we didn't know was that Beterbiev also had some technical skills that he was willing to display. We didn't get a chance to see it too often because he was so busy destroying everyone he had met up to that point, knocking out all of his opponents as a pro. So when he fought Bivol, and Bivol tried to do the boxing, it worked until it didn't work as effectively. It still worked. It's just that Beterbiev had something in his arsenal in terms of overall skill to go along with the power we already knew. And why not? He's from that part of the world where they had a whole lot of amateur fights, so he's at least refined somewhat. And for the 20 fights he had previous before the Bivol fight, well, we knew that he fought high-end people from not from the very beginning, but a great part of those 20 wins were against high-caliber opposition.
I think Bivol is probably one of the most overrated boxers in the world today. If you look at pound-for-pound list, jackasses still have Canelo ranked ahead of him.
You said overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Oh, you said overrated. Like,
I said overrated? Yeah. I mean underrated.
I'm waiting for the catch here. Like,
no. Underrated.
Yeah.
You see pound for pound list where he's like at numbers 8, 7 below Canelo. Makes no sense. And for a guy his size, he's rather light on his feet. He lets his hands go. He uses angles. He's a very, very intelligent boxer.
Last Saturday, the way he went about that business, he took the first 2 rounds a lot like he had done the first time around. But this time, it was a real game plan. He was more assertive. And the one thing that stood out to me more than anything else was that he made it a point to get the get back. If Beterbiev got him with something or looked hard or even the crowd responded, he came back with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch combinations. He didn't care if just 2 landed out of the 5 or if he was just shoe shining and probably nothing really landed. He wanted to make sure there was a response that if nothing else, the judges knew that he wasn't hurt or the judges knew that he was being tenacious. And he was being tenacious. This guy was throwing a jab from the inside. He was getting full extension on occasion from the right hand on the inside. He was doing things that we hadn't seen too often, but only those high-quality fighters can do it. He proved how high quality he was. And it wasn't like Beterbiev wasn't doing anything. Beterbiev was trying to do something. And at some point in the middle of the fight, Beterbiev was getting the better of him. It looked like, he's in trouble again. Bivol was in trouble again, but Bivol sucked it up. It's almost like he rested by design, got his second win, and Beterbiev just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, hopefully I'm able to to find either good highlights or the full fight on YouTube eventually because I want to see it. But as I said, I can't really say much.
Mm-hmm.
The videos I did click on, it didn't really show much. But obviously, people have to rethink their pound for pound list.
Oh, without a doubt, I think he's in the top 3 now. He has to be in the top 3. And I was just talking to Andre just yesterday about this, and I was like, you know what? The guy I think may need to move down just to make room for Bivol is probably Bud Crawford, because he's not fighting that caliber of fighter. In order for him to stay up there, Bivol has to leapfrog him. He had a rematch with a fellow pound for pound fighter, so he has to get that kind of reward. And then the skill set to match the accomplishment definitely deserves to be in the top 3. Canelo's not even in the top 3, but we're still talking about Inoue. We're talking about Usyk. We're talking about now Bivol, arguably Crawford. They can go back and forth for that 3rd spot, but definitely those top 3 wouldn't be bad with either Crawford or Bivol. And at the moment, with Bivol doing what he did in back-to-back fights, I would take Bivol as the 3rd if there had to be a 3rd man on that list, along with Inoue and Usyk, and those 2 are interchangeable at number 1.
Usyk's 4th at best. I mean, look at who he beat. AJ twice. Ooh, big deal. Beat an old Fury twice. Big deal. Who did he really beat?
No, the point is that he's come from cruiserweight to
But he's not Bud Crawford.
He's not Bud.
He's not Bud Crawford.
He has
It's
bigger
not
fights
even
than Bud
close.
Crawford.
It's not even close. You cannot put
Bud
him
Crawford only
Bud
has
Crawford.
4 Errol Spence. That's it. That's it. I mean, in terms of if you want to put that exclamation point name out there, someone who's on the pound for pound list, that was Errol Spence. That's it. And Usyk, in addition to coming up from cruiserweight, still undefeated. Bud's undefeated too. But for him to move up, which is not impossible because it's been done before, but for him to continue to win against the much bigger guy, I never believed too much in Fury anyway. But for Usyk to be as small as he is and still move up and win those fights against Anthony Joshua, we can talk about Anthony Joshua having a glass jaw and not looking the part, or looking the part but not having the skill, and he beats him twice. That's enough. If you look at Bud's resume, it's not really comparable to what Usyk has done, especially when you're talking about going from cruiserweight to heavyweight to do it. That's such a rare occurrence for that to even happen.
Going from 135 to 154, that's easy?
It's not easy at all, but it's a lot harder going from 190 or 200 pounds to 225 and fighting someone 270, sometimes 280.
Come on, man. He fought Fury, who went through all those wars with Wilder. Barely, he had a draw with Ngannou. Come on, man. Any decent fighter was going to beat Fury. I mean, really, come on. You can't. How much? I'm not going to give him that much credit for beating the old Fury. I mean, you saw what he did against Ngannou, and people can say, "Oh, he wasn't trying this and that." Bullshit. Like halfway through the fight, when he's struggling, he tried to step it up and he couldn't. Fury.
Fury. But that got nothing to do with Usyk, though. That got nothing to do with Usyk, though. Usyk is just.
But if he can't, if he goes, he draws with an MMA guy. How much did he have left?
Of all thing in boxing, we know the triangle theory doesn't mean much at all. I mean, if that was the case, Joe Frazier would have beaten George Foreman, because he beat Ali.
Yeah, but it's an MMA guy. It's not even a real boxer.
And that's true. But still, Styles making fights, and then of course Fury did take him more serious. It's just that Usyk is the better fighter. Still coming from cruiserweight, still being a former cruiserweight, still undefeated as a heavyweight. He's beaten other heavyweights. AJ is still there, and yeah, AJ's had his knockouts and knockdowns, and he hasn't looked great in some fights. This guy is still the smaller guy, by far outweighed in some cases by 50 pounds, and he's still getting the win. I was just talking to Andre, like I told you just yesterday. And we were talking about the other fight we're going to probably get a chance to at least broach, because I think you might not have seen it either, when Martin Bacole fought Joseph Parker, and Joseph Parker came in at 267 pounds. And a friend of mine was like, it's not a hard, he's not known as a puncher. At 267 pounds, everybody's a goddamn puncher, period. There's no excuse to it. No reason to rhyme to it. Everyone 267 pounds can knock out anybody on this damn planet. And it just happens to be Bacole, who came in at over 300 pounds, was knocked out in that fight. So, yeah, man, I mean, the triangle theory and seeing what Usyk has done, and being outweighed by 50 pounds and still winning these fights. I mean, just by years ago,
But it's
decades
not
ago.
a triangle theory because there's no third fighter.
Well,
It's how he performed against an MMA guy. There's no triangle. I'm not
well,
comparing him
and
to
then
a
we can
third
still
fighter.
talk about
It's
how he performed
how he looked, how he could not perform against an MMA
and
guy.
how he did perform
He
against Klitschko for
he
that matter. Then,
we talk about guys on the back nine. You can see he had a foot in the clubhouse against Ngannou.
oh yeah, and that's probably true. But it doesn't take away, in my opinion, because of being a former cruiserweight, that doesn't happen often. We're talking about light heavyweights in the past that moved up and got the heavyweight title. Roy Jones being one of them, Michael Spinks being the first one, and all the others in the past who have failed doing it, even when the heavyweights were smaller. And Usyk is the one who's getting it
Well,
done.
when we're talking at the top of the pound for pound list, we have to be very critical, right? That's
Yep.
how we separate the best from the best. And I'm not going to give him that much credit for being an old fury.
And then an AJ that he beat him twice as well. If
And
he's
I
in the
you know, to me, AJ was a
oh,
pretender.
in the
So
beginning I thought he was,
I
but I
could give
started
him
seeing it
enough
later on.
credit for that.
Yeah, you know what? He gets credit because he had done it, but I still think there's something to be said because he's still a cruiserweight. That just can't be dismissed that he's a former cruiserweight doing this in the heavyweight division. He's not supposed to do this because we still see smaller fighters who, in, I guess, natural heavyweights, even in today's world, with bridgeweight, not getting it done. Frank Sanchez still hasn't done anything. In fact, he's already lost, to Caballero, who got another knockout himself against Zhang on Saturday. A whole bunch of things going on, but I mean, at least it's subjective,
Frank
anyways.
Sanchez?
Frank Sanchez, remember Frank Sanchez, the Cuban? I was
No.
on that bandwagon. I'm still on this bandwagon. He's skilled. It's just that this Caballero, man, he goes to the body like no other. He don't let you off the hook.
I know a lot of people were talking to Bacoli after his last effort, and
Oh well,
that,
you know what?
that went out the window.
I guess I was one of those few who did not buy Bacoli, man. I looked at him like Jared Anderson. I never really believed in Jared, not really believed. I never believed in Jared Anderson. And then now he talks about, not now, but even back then, talking about how he didn't even love boxing. It's pretty much something he just did. He likes the money that comes along with it, but he's not willing to put in the real effort to become something special for whoever projected that his talent dictate or projected that his talent would translate into greatness. I never thought so watching him. But anyway, Bacoli, he gets knocked out by Joseph Parker in the second round after just seconds before saying a punch that Joseph Parker threw didn't hurt. Next thing you know, he gets hit on the top of the head and he starts dancing. And it ends from there. He goes down. I think the ref stopped it early. But I think the ref also thought about how it was a short notice fight and things could go south even further fast because of it. You don't want to get a guy who's on short notice getting his bell rung like that, because those are big guys. They're like collision artists when they're in it, those types of heavyweights, especially today. Dudes are 267 pounds, but Cody 312, 310 for the fight. The damages, it could happen. It doesn't have to be a lot of punches. Just that one car wreck. But anyway, Bacoli goes down. I didn't really believe in him. I thought he was slow, but Saturday he did have some fast hands. I didn't know he had, but he still got KO'd.
Did he really have fast hands, or they look fast because he was fighting 267-pound Parker?
No, his hands looked fast. I was surprised when he threw the punches. I was like, damn, this dude's hands is faster than I thought. The athleticism wasn't necessarily there right then. I think because it is a short notice fight and he was a little heavy, well, a lot heavy, but he did have that hand speed. I don't know, a little bit like Buster Mathis Sr., who had those fast hands, but this guy can punch. He was always one of those types that think he can just walk in and blow you away. And in the beginning, I thought he might have been on the road to doing something official against Joseph Parker, but Joseph Parker probably the best resume in the past freaking year in boxing as far as heavyweights go, because he just goes about his grind. He needs a title shot real quick.
So obviously there should be a rubber match between Bivol and Beterbiev.
Oh yeah.
Is it going to happen in the fall, or?
Interestingly, after the fight, they asked Beterbiev about the rematch, a third match. He said he didn't even want the second match. He didn't want the rematch, but he had no choice. I was like, where the hell did that come from? He said, I didn't really want the second fight.
He didn't want the smoke with Bivol?
That's what he said. I didn't want the second fight, but I had no choice. And that had me thinking immediately, and I know a lot of other people thought the same because I've already seen it online. What the hell was he talking about? I thought this was just two dudes that's just known to fight because they do it in that side of the world. And because of the honor of what had happened, then just give you the rematch because it was so close. It deserved the rematch as it did, just like it deserves a rubber match now, as it may or may not happen. Because now Bivol, after saying the politically correct things inside the ring in his post-fight conference, he wants the rematch, but he also called out, I think he called out Benavidez and he called out Canelo. So he's calling people out as well, and rightfully so. He can
Canelo
call out
don't
anyone
want
he wants. Canelo doesn't want it, so that's just window dressing. Benavidez, one of the young dogs, young lions, that's what he needs in his life.
if Beterbiev doesn't want the third match, I'm sure Benavides will be more
Oh,
than happy to step in.
Benavidez is
I
that
don't
dog.
know. I don't know if that's a good matchup for Benavides
I was telling someone
because
the same thing yesterday, man. I was like, after the skills
Bivol
I
has that.
saw,
He has that educated jab. He uses angles. He's like I say, he moves around. I don't think that pressure is gonna bother him.
after the skills,
And I
that's
don't
one
know
thing.
about him carrying his weight up there. I mean, his power up there.
You know, he's now had a couple of fights at light heavyweight, and we're getting to see more and more. But he also fought another fighter who just moved up as well, or had some fights up there, not a whole lot. Didn't spend his career up there. Bivol has spent his career as a light heavyweight, but if you would have seen the fight that he had put on last Saturday, the overall skill set, and I said it then and I'll say it now, that was the most highly skilled fight I've seen in years. I knew he was skilled. That's why I took him to begin with. I knew he was skilled. That's why I took him the first time when he lost, whether controversial or not, but the skills he showed in that fight, unbelievable. The movement in the ring, you're talking straight up ring generalship. You're talking the knowing the geography of the geometry and geography of the ring. He did all of that, and I mean to a T. And he did have that little lull in the middle of the fight. And I think because he started off too fast, and he did that the last time, he learned his lesson from that. He had to kind of like take it easy, but he also had to take a beat in the process. But he was still fighting back. But he was measured. He wasn't desperate. And when it was all said and done, he didn't cruise at any point. He just looked beautiful doing what he was doing. And I think the final cards, big deal. It was unanimous, so it wasn't one of these split decisions. Their fight they had, I think it was a majority decision for Beterbiev. And I also thought the same thing with Beterbiev. What could he have done differently from the last fight? Because in the last fight is the fight that he showed us that he can do more than just slug someone out or grind them out or just be a brute. He showed that he had nuance to his fight game. And what more could he have put on top of that now that Bivol had a chance to see it? Bivol already has the skill, so he could do other things.
So if Benavides and Bivol get together later this year, are we in agreement that Bivol's the favorite?
Oh, yeah, he should be the favorite. He should be the favorite. After this kind of performance, if this is the pinnacle of his career, he can only go down from here. Or is he now, for some strange reason, as an older fighter, in his prime? Because when the lights are brightest, it seems like he puts on this kind of performance. Because it's still an argument that he might have won their first fight. There's still an argument about that. Now, I don't think it was a robbery. I just think it was close enough for either guy to get it or even a draw. So when Beterbiev was declared the winner in the first fight, I wasn't tripping over that. Some people acted like it was an egregious robbery. Nah, it was an egregious robbery. It was just a close fight that could have gone either way, including a draw.
Seems pretty strange that Beterbiev would say he didn't want the rematch
Yeah,
and
I didn't want the rematch in
he's
the first place. I'm
not
like,
sure
wait,
about a third fight. That just makes me. I mean, the only conclusion I can come to is he doesn't want to fight Bivol. Like
well,
maybe those are problems he doesn't want to deal with.
after he had his moments in the second fight. It's just that the rounds that Bivol won were clear Bivol rounds. Beterbiev did have his clear rounds too, and it looks like he did hurt Bivol a little bit, but listening to the commentary or even the build-up during the fight or before the fight, they talked about how Bivol said he realized how much he really hates losing. And when you're that person that goes into a ring, especially, I mean, that culture they come from, where they look at it as being sportsmen. We have people here that talk about they want to catch bodies like Deontay Wilder. Over there, they don't say that kind of thing. They're just like, we're just good sportsmen. And even as brutal as it is, the Klitschko said the same thing. Usyk says a lot of the same thing. and they approach it like gentlemen. Even over in the UK, it's more like they approach it more as gentlemen. And if they do have these feelings in their head, they don't say it out loud, and they do fight as if they really respect the game. And these fighters over here, I want to catch a body. I want to kill this guy. Or Mike back in his day, I want to hit his nose bone up into his brain and kill him in the ring. You hear that kind of rhetoric. But I don't
Well,
know.
with Mike, I think it was more for the intimidation factor.
Shoot, hitting him alone was intimidating enough when he was hitting those dudes. But
But for Tyson, if he wasn't intimidating people,
oh,
he was pretty much done
his
because
fight game went out the window.
when you're the bully and you can't bully people, then what?
Man, so and that's true. When you can't, that's how it is in boxing. They talk about 90% mental and 10% physical. I've said that a long time because I got it from other people who know it. And the 90% that it takes, the 90% mental it takes to put together a game plan, and the 10% physical it takes to execute the game plan. Pretty much, you spend all these hours and days and weeks and months in training camp, to get your mentality together to envision what you might do in the ring, so that you can execute it. So that 10% that you need to execute it was derived or was executed because of that 90% of mental preparation. Of course, the physical part of it, but mostly mental, because there's so many times you want to check out when you train. You want to check out, man. Um, what's his name saying the same thing years ago with Vanna Holyfield. Like when he's out and then he comes back, he wants to get a little bit, he wants to get in there. He doesn't want to be in there in the first couple of weeks, but then you get to it, he starts getting involved. So okay, we got Warlock of boxing in the house here.
What's up, Warlock?
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, man. Anybody want to come in? You already know. Just drop it. I could put a link inside the comments. So if you want to come in here, even if you want to come in on the broadcast, you can do that as well. Comments just as much. But yeah, we're talking about the fights that happened last Saturday, and fights plural because there were fights on Rama going on. I think from 11 a.m. Eastern time until that main event, which ended about 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, somewhere around, or 6:30, somewhere around there. But that was
So
week, man.
The fight I did see was Virgil Ortiz and Madrimov.
I missed that fight though.
You missed it. That was a good one too.
I heard it was, man.
I was a little disappointed in how Ortiz started. He wasn't letting his hands go, and Madrimov was just moving around the ring a lot, was jabbing and throwing a couple flurries here and there. And then when he got on the ropes, Ortiz just wasn't letting his hands go. I'm like, at least throw a body shot, go to the body. And then I think it was round 4, he started loosening up. Round 5, 6, man, he was almost like Benavidez against Morrell. You can see he had his foot on the gas. Yeah. And then like by round 9, 10, he was getting in Majimov's ass. But to his credit, Majimov has a lot of heart.
Oh, he does, no question.
He was taking some big shots, but he stopped moving and he's like, you know what? I got to make a stand. And unfortunately, he was using his head. He was coming forward with his head. He probably should have had a point taken away. The referee told him, that's it. This is your last warning. And then the next time he did it again, he's like, this is your last warning. I was like, dude, you already gave him a last warning. But anyway, it was a hell of a fight. It started out slow, and then it turned into fireworks going down the stretch because Majimov was pretty much making a stand, and Ortiz wanted the knockout. He's got 21 knockouts in 23 fights now. And it looked like Majimov was kind of fading. But again, like I said, that guy's got a lot of heart.
He sucks
it
up.
He was not folding.
And I'll tell you what, with all of that being said and all of that being done, you already know what the narrative is going to be. Bud had a lot more problems with Madrimov than what Virgil Ortiz seems to have had, according to what I'm hearing from you. So those two got to get together, man. I know this Canelo thing is out there. That big bag is to get, they want that big bag, and they probably would. And it wouldn't do Bud any good right now to fight a fighter like Virgil Ortiz right now before the Canelo fight, as that tune-up that you normally do to stay sharp, be going into that Canelo fight. If it's still going to happen, you don't want to fight Ortiz first. You just want to go out there with a nice little soft touch that makes you sweat, get your reflexes back on point, so you can go into that Canelo fight thinking at least mentally that you're fresh enough to be inside there. Because now Virgil Ortiz and Bud, that has to happen at some point or another.
Maybe. And now we're talking triangle because they both have a common opponent in Majimov.
Exactly. Now we got the triangle theory
here. The difference is Majimov's, he's kind of herky jerky, a little unorthodox in his movements, and so Bud, where it takes him usually 3-4 rounds to download data
Process. Yep.
and all that. Whereas Ortiz, he was just trying to overwhelm him with power, and Bud's not that kind of fighter. I
Yeah,
don't think
styles making
Ortiz.
fights. Yeah.
I don't think Ortiz is gonna fuck with Bud. You coming straight at Bud, he's gonna make you pay.
Oh no, I'm definitely taking Bud if those two get together. But I'm saying in terms of the people who get their mindset together for that, for those who don't like Bud or they're skeptical about what he's done. Those are the people who are gonna say, look what Ortiz had done. He looked better against this guy than what Bud looked like. They're gonna. That's just how boxing goes and how boxing fans go, or pseudo fans for
I
that
was
matter.
surprised. I guess I've watched Ortiz fight before, but he looked big Saturday. And I think that's the difference. Majimov saw his size, like, whoa, wait a second. I got to keep some distance here, where that wasn't the case with Bud. But again, I don't care how big you are. You're not going to come straight at Bud and be successful.
Oh, no. The Bud between his countering and being able to switch up and being able to hit hard with both hands, yeah, he's going to give you a lot of pepper. And Ortiz is not exactly the hardest person to hit, especially for someone who's as accurate as Bud. So, but he does have that power though, and we've seen Bud buzz before, but we also seen Bud being a dog and coming back from getting buzzed and buzzing you, and that's how the fight ended. And he did have that knockout streak going on, as a welterweight. So yeah, and this is going to be a 154 of those two fight. Virgil Ortiz had his issues staying up there in weight, but Shakur Stevenson also fought on
I missed that
Saturday.
one.
This is one of the first times I've seen it before, but one of the first times I've seen a fighter get the knockout or gets booed because of the knockout. That's how bad a fight it looked in terms of overall aesthetics, with this Shakur being so talented and crisp coming off an injury. That's why he was out for a while. I think he might have hurt his hand again, and he did. He was making faces when he was throwing his left hand, and he was making faces with that. So that's more of a reason why. But this is boxing, man. Nobody wants to hear your excuse for why you're not fighting the way they expect you to fight against a guy who should not even have been in the ring with you. But more credit to that guy. I forgot his name, man. But that guy, he came to fight, man. He was outgunned in every which
Was
way.
it Padley? Padley
Badly,
or
yeah,
something?
badly. So he came to fight regardless of what skill set he had and who he was facing. Shakur isn't going to hurt you badly, but hey, any fighter can hurt another fighter, and he did hurt him because he eventually knocked him down several times before the corner saw the better part of it and thrown the towel in because the ref seemed like he wasn't interested in protecting him. But Shakur, a talent nonetheless. We already know skill-wise what he brings to the table. But if he wants to take it to the next level in terms of getting the bag like everybody else is trying to get, especially with Turkey involved in boxing, he's going to have to bring some pop to the game. People aren't coming to watch just nice boxing. Pernell Whitaker at least made it more exciting. He threw those nice hands and he still got you out of there on occasion when he
Pernell
needed to.
Whitaker and exciting should not be in the same
No,
sentence.
no, I mean, I saw the fight against Hurtado, man. And when he knocked my Hurtado
Okay,
out, when
okay, that one, yeah.
and then that second Jose Luis Ramirez
Rest in
fight.
peace, sweet people. I'm sorry, he was not an exciting
Bro,
fighter.
I guess when you look at it from a pure boxing standpoint, that second not Julio Cesar Chavez fight, second Jose Luis Ramirez fight, man, that you talk about beautiful boxing last Saturday with Bivol. Pernell Whitaker put on a show for the ages against Ramirez after getting robbed in France, the previous fight they had. That one was in Virginia, his hometown of Norfolk, and he was that performance. I still look for that performance when I go on YouTube just to check it out because he was so masterful in the ring. And I just Azuma Nelson was a boring fight, but just knowing that how good Azuma Nelson was and how Pernell Whitaker was treating him, that just kind of upped it up a little bit more in the way he was able to just beat guys and make it look freaking easy. He made you think boxing was easy. They talked about him being a southpaw and as good as he was. I remember someone compared it to having a Cadillac with a stick shift. that's how he was as a southpaw, as good as he was. I'm like, damn, I never heard an analogy like that. But damn, that sure makes sense for me. But Shakur, not exciting, man. I like looking at the skills, man, but I'm one of those, I guess, boxing purists. I like a knockout artist too. But if you want to make the bag, the masses have to like you. The masses have to want to deal with you. And that
I'm
mainstream
afraid
fan, they don't want to see pure boxing.
I'm afraid he might end up being the Mike McCallum of this era, because put him in with Haney. he's gonna outbox Haney. Put him in with Garcia. Garcia ain't gonna touch him. Tank Tank probably has the best shot, but Shakur's got all the advantages other than power. He's got height, reach, length. What's he saying?
People still watching boxing. I'm glad you're doing the show, but even the White Sox would be a better topic on the
Oh,
UFC.
that's my coworker
Well,
right
I
there.
know it's somebody you know, man. He threw that White Sox in there like that. That's not just coming out organically, man. You
Just
gotta have some
hey,
insight.
hey, Janko, hang in there. We're gonna get to basketball here in a few minutes.
Yeah. Oh man, a lot of basketball going on. There's a lot of everything. Also, since we're on the topic of boxing right now, sad news in boxing. If you haven't heard it already, Greg Haugen, former lightweight champ of the world, passes away from cancer yesterday on the 23rd of February. So he's gone, man. I mean, I think that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I know there are people who may not think he deserves to be in, but the way they've allowed some fighters into the Hall of Fame of late, Vinny Pazienza, the most recent one to get into the Hall of Fame, who I didn't think belonged in the Hall of Fame. But looking at his resume, I'm like, you know what? I looked at his resume. I'm like, you know what? Based on Gotti being in and not beating any top fighters, Vinny Pazienza needs to be in. Vinny Pazienza did fight Greg Haugen. That was a gift in Providence when they fought the first time. The second time, I believe they fought in Atlantic City, and Haugen got it, and they fought a third time, and Vinny Pazienza got that one back.
Yeah, I was going to mention his fights with Pazienza. Those were some really good
Oh
fights.
yeah, yeah.
I remember
Even
those
though,
being on like Saturday afternoon on ABC. Or
eh,
maybe
eh,
not all of them, but at least one I remember watching.
yeah, I
But
remember that. The first one I remember for sure. And the second one I watched because I knew the first one was a robbery, and they were talking about being in Providence, and we already know being in Rhode Island is where Vinny Pazienza is from. You know, I saw him at the Boxing Hall of Fame back in 2011. I mean, they're all cool dudes when you run up to them. Boxers are some of the most accessible people in sports. You can, and pretty genuine. When you see them on the street, they'll talk to you, they'll converse with you, and and talk about their career. Or if you're talking about boxing, when Mickey Ward and his brother came here to Jacksonville, they came to the University of North Florida, right when that movie came out, when Mickey Ward's movie came out. I can't remember, The Fighter. Yeah, they came here to Jacksonville. I was the boxing coach for the University of North Florida at the time, and I got out there and talked with Mickey Ward and his brother, and it was cool. And then, incidentally, going to the Hall of Fame in 2011, he freaking remembered me. We talked it again. We talked again. It was all good. So boxers have always been like that, man. They're not standoffish like football players, etc. But anyways, a
yeah,
lot of boxing going on this past weekend.
yeah, I've said this before. You know, I covered fights in Chicago, um, ESPN fights, NBC fights,
Mm-hmm.
and I I can't say I had a bad experience with anybody except one guy, the Spanish announcer for Univision. He thought his shit didn't stink. He's the only guy that I didn't care for, and he tried saying hello to me, and I ignored him. He was like, "Excuse me." I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I said hello to you." I was like, "What's up?" And then
Bro,
he
for
just
real?
walked away like, yeah, like he thought his shit didn't stink. And I was there talking to, I don't remember who the boxer was, or it might have been the trainer. And he came to say hello to the trainer. And then he said hello to me, and I ignored him because I thought he was an asshole. Um, so, but he's the only one. Everybody else, they'll beat you down, but if you're not fighting them, nice as can be.
Yeah, and that's the truth, man. Every fight I met, man, so many over the years, but I don't think
I
I've had
mean,
a bad experience with a
Buster
fighter.
Douglas, Buster Douglas, when
I never met him.
he signed an autograph for me, he put a smiley face next to his name. I'm like,
He's a teddy bear kind of
yo,
dude. Come
man,
on, this is
you're like 6'4", a former heavyweight champ. What's
right. He's
with this
teddy bear,
smiley face, man?
smiley face, man. Come on. But I do remember when a friend of mine, Tony, who has a gym down in Orlando, we went to the third Roy Jones and Antonio Tarver fight, and they have the food for the media, but I thought the food was for like the whole media. We all went to the HBO room. We thought it was all media, and we wondered why they had all that prime steak and everything over there, prime rib and everything over there, and we eating over there, and we seen people with sandwiches in the other room. We hung out over there, and then they came over to us like, "Yo, you were HBO?" Like, no, and they threw us out. They threw us out. But we already cleaned up before we got out of there, though. It was crazy,
That's
man.
funny.
They didn't care about throwing us out of there, man. But Yeah, I wish Tony was on here to talk about that. He was going back for seconds, but they threw us out. HBO, they want us in there. But yeah, man,
So
let me see.
getting into basketball, Cooney versus Holmes, Cooney versus Norton Jr.
Cooney versus Norton Jr.
Are those questions?
I don't know. Kid Norton Jr.
Old school. So getting into basketball, I was watching the Cavs and Grizzlies yesterday,
Yeah.
and they were going at it. Donovan Mitchell was in his bag.
Easy throw.
Grizzlies were hanging in there, and then Mobley from the Cavs went down the lane, went up for a dunk. Ja came over late, tried to block it, got dunked on, and then he started laughing and hugged Mobley. I was like, see, this is why ratings are down. If he don't care about getting dunked on, why are fans gonna care about watching this game? Like,
Exactly. That's
I
true.
was into it. Bring him on. This guy wants to come in.
I'm in.
But like,
That's the one who bored us to death the last time when he was supposed to talk basketball.
but I lost interest in the game. I was like, come on, man. What, this is a game at the corner park, or you're at your local gym at the YMCA? Like, this game don't matter. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm making too much of it, but it's just another example of how all these guys get along and there are no rivalries.
Yeah, there are no rivalries. And I don't know. This past December, we were talking about how the NFL absolutely obliterated whatever was going on Christmas Day, which is typically set to be the day for the NBA to kind of put their best foot forward. And they put that quartet of games out and see how they can, with the best teams out there. They typically put the 4 games out there. And the NFL just absolutely destroyed it. And it lets you know that the NFL is still that team or that entity. Here you go. Let me see. Let me get this thing.
You gotta lower your camera.
Oh, there you go.
Better.
What's up, Scott?
Yeah, old school, baby.
Yeah, yes, you're old.
Can we keep the topic to current basketball and not your fantasy team?
For real, right?
How about
your
this?
Fantasy team.
I'll trade fantasy if we can talk college basketball as well.
Oh yeah, because the Gators are winning finally. That's why you want to
take
talk.
One step back, because I did a little research, Trav. I remember Trav and I talked years ago about Jerry Cooney, and you're like, Jerry Cooney wasn't that bad. Only thing I could remember was him getting knocked out by Larry Holmes. And at the time,
and George Foreman and Michael Spinks.
At the time,
come on, man.
I hated Larry Holmes because he had beaten Ali. And that's the thing. You guys were talking about getting the bag. You got to relate to the people. Ali, that's the difference, I would think, between Tyson and Ali. I mean, Tyson was a great boxer, so much fun to watch. But nobody cared for him outside of the ring. There were always issues with that. Whereas, I mean, Ali, what's that? Mike Tyson.
You talking about Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
Everybody loved Mike Tyson. He was the reason why boxing was even talked about. They knew they were about to see a 30-second fight, and they still put $1,500 a seat.
I think he's referring
what
to
commercials? What commercials?
Liking and loving the man.
What products did he represent? What commercials?
That Pepsi, that Diet Pepsi commercial before the space fight. To see who the real champion is. That's exactly what he said during the commercial.
Ali kind of started out that way, right? He joins Nation of Islam. He goes against Vietnam, but he really became a beloved cultural icon. I told you, Trav, I remember that there was that commercial. It was about like tick and flea medicine or whatever. It was hilarious. It had Ali and then this tiny little cute dog and him going,
more
you
power
dirty
to you.
dog, bringing ticks and fleas into this house. It was hilarious.
I don't want you living with roaches.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I thought he was great. And you had defended Cooney before, and all I remembered was Holmes knocking him out. But then I saw something recently about him and Ken Norton Jr. Kim Norton Jr. Ken
Norton Sr. He knocked out Ken Norton Sr.
Yeah.
In the first round, but that was Ken
Norton. He was a bad man. I saw pictures of that guy. He was like, I would never want to fight a guy.
But he was shot as hell by then. He just finished
a
hard 15-round fight with Larry Holmes not too long before that. And that was just one of those set him up big name fights. and knock him down like he did, almost killed him. The ref did a terrible job.
And
Let's get back to that basketball, damn it.
Oh yeah. Gators, baby. Gators.
So
They're keeping them out of number one. They've already beat Auburn. Duke jumps ahead of them this year. I think these guys have a shot at the national championship. I went to see them in the South Carolina game, and they have this tendency. I mean, they beat Auburn pretty solidly, but these other teams that they should beat, like South Carolina, like Oklahoma, like
Frank Martin's a hell of a coach in South Carolina, bro.
Yeah, I know, but they're a better team. They're a better team. But what they do is they get down to these teams in like the middle of the game, and then they come back and bring it all home. And they did it again this weekend. I don't know what that is with the lull. They kind of break down there in the middle. But I think what they figured out this week, I guess it was Mississippi State figured out this week was, let's make Ruben Chinaloo shoot because he can't shoot. Now, he ended up scoring 18 points because he got a lot of layups and he hit a few shots. But the thing about the Gators is their back court is solid. Their front court, it just continues to get better. Like their best guy, Condon, he gets injured. When he gets injured, they bring in Hanlogton, who was their best front court player last year.
Joakim Nokum.
When I saw him in the South Carolina game, that dude was out of shape. I was like, get that guy out of the game. He's a liability. But they kept him in, and they ended up beating South Carolina. But now, and then Thomas Houck, who was like second fiddle to Condon, he's been amazing during games. In South Carolina, he totally blew up. And then now they've got Condon coming back. So the front court's getting better. Eventually Sam Alexis will come back, so they'll get better. But I think it's going to be pretty exciting between I'm not sure who the other top 10 contenders are, but I think between Duke and Auburn.
St. John's is on the top 10 now, man.
Which is exciting, right? Because you got
Patino.
Patino. They've got Patino.
Man, you better believe he came from Iona.
Yeah. Now, see, Iona was where the Gators guard, he played with him. He played with Patino at Iona.
Yeah, I watched Iona basketball since I was 8 years old. It's up there in New Rochelle, right next to Mount Vernon in New York. So I've been rocking with them forever. But anyways, yeah. So St. John's is in the top 10 now. Let's get to the freaking NBA. There's enough college to talk about, enough college to go around. The tournament's all starting up next month.
Come on, you just don't want to talk about the greatness of the Gators, Trav. Get a break. Well, just because Miami sucks this year, come on.
Oh, Miami's terrible this year, man. Isaiah Wong, with or without Isaiah Wong, they're just just horrible this year. There's no doubt about it.
All right, I think it's going to come down to the difference makers because the college game is so wide open now.
Yeah, it is.
Who has the best difference maker, in crunch time? Who's able to make the shots?
Right. And the Gators have right now, which is very hard to come by in college ball.
The number one player in the country right now, Cooper Flagg, the number one pick overall projected. I've been saying that 3 years now when he was like 15, but everybody else was saying it too. So it's not like I'm the only one.
Yeah, Duke's tough. Duke's solid.
Yeah.
And I don't like them jumping ahead of the Gators, but my Gators were yelling at me today, what the hell's going on? I said, who cares?
They're always whining.
Who cares? Where are you at the end of the season? I was like, who cares if they rank us lower at this point? Then maybe fewer people have their targets, we don't have the reticle on our forehead. So that's fair.
Well, Calipari and his clowns helped me lose some money the other night. I thought Missouri, bro. Come on. I thought Missouri was going to take this thing, man. Freaking Arkansas beat them. Freaking Calipari.
Yeah,
so back to the NBA.
Missouri beat the Gators.
Back to the NBA. What's your take on why ratings are down?
It's a good question. I mean, my ratings are up because my Celtics are rocking, so I like that. The other thing that we talked about, and I don't know how much this has to do with it, but when they black out those games, even when they're not, like an Orlando game in California, they'll black that out on the NBA channel. I mean, that sucks.
I can't watch Knicks games down here, and they're not even freaking blacked out. And I'm like, what the hell, man?
But the stars that we had have kind of dropped, right? I mean, we had Ja Morant who's kind of fallen out, and both of these. Travis used to like both these guys. Now he's down on both of them.
I can't fuck with Ja Morant, man.
Luka's the other guy.
I still like Luka, just that, bro.
Luka dropped 32 the other night, though.
Luka's all right. I can still fuck with Luka, but I'm just not. on Ja like at the end.
Travis goes blue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and they snapped the Nuggets 9-game winning streak.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
Nuggets have been
so-
doing that sneakily, man. The Nuggets are going on a little run of their own. People weren't thinking about them anymore. Oh, the dynasty is over, and these guys going on a nice little run.
Can't count
Well,
them
I'm
out.
thinking from a fan's perspective, like being a Bulls fan back in the day, they had a lot of rivals. You know, the Cavs, the Knicks, then the Heat came in, and of course the
In
Pistons.
Indiana.
So like, and then if they played the Lakers were good. The Rockets had gone to some finals.
Yeah.
You know, there were teams out there that you want to see them play against. Now, the Bulls aren't very good, but do they even have a rival? Are they anybody's rival?
Yeah.
Who's the Celtics rival? Can
Yeah.
you say
Seriously,
Philly?
not the Knicks.
Philly's no damn good.
Not the Sixers.
So that's what I'm saying. Philly's no damn
This
good.
is a
So
mess. I'm surprised.
Used to
who's
be
the Lakers
Milwaukee.
rival?
I don't know.
Milwaukee? I mean, what's going on in
The
Milwaukee, really?
Celtics in Milwaukee used to be, but they brought in Damian Lillard, and it really hasn't come together.
Nope.
But the one thing I was
Especially
going
on
to say
defense.
about it doesn't explain anything, the past ratings. But one thing that's going to stink for the NBA this year is the new superstar Wembanyama gone for the year.
Yeah.
Damn. And
So I
Pop
hate to
not coming
mention
back
it.
either.
But he was on my fantasy team. So, and
Yeah.
plus, when you add De'Aaron Fox, then San Antonio gets relevant, not just
Mhm.
exciting. So, but yeah,
Pop
so
is not
that's
coming back. He's bounced since November.
Yeah, not to mention Pop, he went out with the stroke and
Yeah, November.
Yeah.
He's not coming back.
yeah.
I think this is pretty much setting it up for him to kind of retire anyways. And
Yeah.
so they've had some
could
solid
be
success.
he's up there.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got
and
a question. Who's the fastest guy in the NBA?
Fastest what, speed wise?
Yeah.
Dude, I never thought about it.
Might be
Could it
De'Aaron
be?
Fox.
You
Has
think
been.
so?
Used to be Kyrie Irving. Back in the day, it was your boy AI.
AI. Everybody knew AI was the fastest dude in the league.
And before before the last 5 years, I think it was Russell Westbrook before, but he's lost a step.
Oh yeah, after all these years, you better lose a step.
Yeah. How about John? Is John in the running?
He's fast as hell, man. But I really don't know. I never really looked at it as how fast he is compared to someone else. I just know when he's on his game, he's still nasty. He's still good, but I just don't rock with him anymore. I wish he would have just had that nice career from Murray State, go to the NBA and just have his career, man. That upward trajectory that he had coming in, he just ruined it with all this nonsense. I wonder how many other people might have fallen off on him and hadn't come back. Because I'm one of those cats that hadn't come back. I'll still acknowledge his game if he's doing nasty. But outside of that, man, not even too interested in.
You got to make your bones in the playoffs anyway. So
Yeah, he needs to get there.
If the Grizzlies make a run in the playoffs, you say they get to the Western Conference Finals, you'll probably be back on them.
No, I like to see him play. No. I like I'm not a bandwagon cat at all. I like to watch him play. I just don't rock with him before I was rock with him because he was winning me money back in college. So I already knew about him before everybody started talking about the triple doubles back in college and going into the tournament. He was beating Auburn and Alabama, man, or keeping it close against top teams. And it was exclusively him.
From
and
Murray
I saw
State. Where did they come from? Well, they are in Kentucky. So
they're in Kentucky, yeah.
Right.
And with the racers. But man, that guy, I knew back then, man. But and I was like, will he be one of those top picks? And then when he went to the tournament, there was no question. But anyways, God, man.
Well, I think the other interesting thing, at least to me, because I normally ignore the West by and large, but some of the, let's look at the teams that are good this year. Speaking of Memphis is good. Obviously, Oklahoma is good again. And Houston, where did they come from?
And did you call Chet Holmgren
They've been assembling.
that was Kendrick Perkins, famous Celtics. I have a love-hate relationship with him now. But, Kendrick Perkins said that Chet Holmgren was the next Kevin Garnett.
Yeah. Bruh. Chet does have game, boy. I ain't gonna lie about that. That dude's tenacious too. He just doesn't have the size to continue to do it.
Yeah. Well, Perkins, he won the national, he won the title with them in 2008. And, they had such a great team with Kevin Garnett. And then they traded Perkins away. This big man, can you imagine this 6'10", this freaking dude? he broke down and cried when they traded him. Now, he might have been crying because I think they traded him to Oklahoma. But still, I thought it was because his love for the Celtics and he was getting traded. So that's why I kind of love him.
He was inconsequential anyway. Well, he never lived up to any type of expectation. But yeah, what else is going on in basketball? Because this is the time of year where basketball finally it has center stage. I know the NFL Combine this week, but the Jaguars just got their new general manager. He had his speech today, and he's going to the Combine this week. So we have the Combine, but I think the NBA should be able to outshine the Combine. Come on now, this is their time.
NFL is so good. NFL has all these little things to like. What was the other they had the other day? It was the tags. Are you going to franchise this tag guy or not?
Yeah.
They get like a full, I don't know, almost a week full of coverage about that stuff. I think
the franchise or transition tag.
Right. Yeah. I think the NBA should create that kind of contractual, stuff so they could get more public in the off season. Nobody thinks about them in the off season.
Well, you know what? And the NBA is an international game. Basketball is an international game. Football is still trying to become an international game. It'll never be like basketball, but it still gets more buzz here. And then when you go overseas, it seems like it gets even more buzz there, probably because of the scarcity. But if you want to talk about the NFL, let's talk about a little Steve Smith, the former legend for the Carolina Panthers and the Baltimore Ravens. He was sleeping with one of the wives of some cheerleader chick or some band member of the Baltimore Ravens. And the husband goes on Twitter saying, Steve Smith slept with my wife, blah, blah, blah. Bro, and then it got buzz. People thought he was just a kook. Then he got a freaking phone call. He called called him up. Bro, it was crazy. He was like, yo, you've been fucking my wife. That's what he says. And he says, I'm sorry. Bro, this thing has been killing me all day. I'm like, I'm listening to this crap all day.
Did he not know she was married?
No, he knew it. But the deal is this now. First,
so why apologize?
Because when you get over the, well, no, he knew that the dude knew that she was married, but he still was screwing this chick, and he didn't think he'll get busted out. So he got busted out, and then this dude, the husband, calls him up and says, "Yo, you've been screwing my wife." And he's like, he said, "You gonna be a man?" And he stayed quiet for a long time. He's like, "Yeah, you talk all this crap on television to everybody else, this and that. You Stephen Smith Jr., all that stuff, man." I'm like, man. And he says,
Steve Smith Sr.
The senior. He said, "You Steve Smith Sr." and all that. He says, "Sorry." And that's it. And then the dude, he hangs up. And the dude just goes off on him, man. And it's a chick named Martinez. The dude is Latino. So you can hear that. He's pissed. You know what I mean? Yo, and they show a picture of her. But then once you get past that initial story, you look back in the layers, and now all these other stories are coming out because it went super viral. Well, Steven was screwing her back when he was playing for the Carolina Panthers. Well, this guy, her husband now, met her on Tinder, and they got married at $2,000 in 2020. So he was already screwing her before she married you. It just happens to be he's still screwing her when he's in town.
Hope he got a prenup. Hope he got a prenup.
Who?
The husband.
And it said, no, the husband. Why would the husband need a prenup? I mean,
but no, a prenup so his wife doesn't take all his money after she's been, screwing around with Steve Smith.
Oh, and that's if he has a lot of money. I mean, maybe he's just a regular dude,
Could be.
But so I'm thinking that so now Steven, Steve has always been an outspoken player. He hasn't said a damn thing about this. All these allegations and everything.
Son.
And all they're saying right now is he's quiet because he's trying to settle things with his wife, trying to get that situated at our home before he comes out publicly, because he has some damage control seriously going on. But that's one of those stories that popped up and just became a viral story just in the past couple of days.
Yeah.
What's up with these Ravens?
With these
Justin Tucker, now Steve Smith Sr.
Yeah, right. But Justin Tucker, he's doing it without permission, according to them. She's down with it. But come on, you met your wife on Tinder. And then you married her in 2000. Steven been hitting her since 2015, 2016.
I don't know. I think the show's off the rails now. We don't.
There was some.
Blame Steve Smith.
There was a guy who kicked for the Jaguars and went somewhere else, and he got accused of a bunch of stuff too, and he got fired when he was somewhere else. But then I don't know, the charges were dropped or whatever, and he was
not
allowed
Josh
to
Colby,
come
right?
back. Nah, I'm not. No, it's not a common name like that. He wasn't with the Jags very long.
Look, I know Josh Scobie's cousin, Craig. But anyway, Josh was always a cool dude, man. I mean, kickers are cool anyway. They're quirky, but they're cool. But anyway, yeah, this is going off the rails. Blame Steve Smith for it, man. Well, anything else going on? I mean, if you want to close out, we're almost on that hour. Any more basketball?
Well, who are the other college contenders? We talked about St. John's, Duke, Auburn.
Iowa State is in there. Connecticut. Yeah. I don't know why UConn still gets a lot of play. They've been getting their asses kicked left and right all season.
A couple days ago, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost a couple of days ago. In fact, they lost to UConn, St. John's.
They have 5 or 6 losses this year.
You know what I'm saying? So I know things can change in the playoffs or in the tournament like it did years ago when Kemba Walker just carried their asses from the Big East championship and broke the hell out and just did it. You know, he just carried them over to a national championship. That was as impressive as an individual I've ever seen or probably ever seen in college basketball because they wouldn't even look at to do a damn thing. Kemba took him on his back. Damn. I didn't think he could do it, and he did exactly that.
We've got Alabama's good. The Gators have to play.
And Auburn, Tennessee. Yeah. As long as Bruce Pearl
Tennessee's going to be in the mix. Houston's really good.
Yeah, Houston, yeah. And then you look at the little teams that can be a little upset, like St. Mary's. Gonzaga's not the same like they used to be. San Francisco's always been that middle tier West Coast Conference team. Yeah, so there's Creighton. I like teams like Creighton. You know what I'm saying? Those middle tier teams that can surprise the hell out of you because they still got seniors on their team and everybody else has like freshmen and they can kind of bully you around. Villanova not the same anymore.
I saw the other Luka recently playing for the Timberwolves, but he was an Iowa guy, not Iowa State.
Oh yeah, but Iowa State, I'm surprised. Iowa State's not usually up in that college. I mean, they're a solid team, but they're never like this. Bias and I were just talking the other day about Nebraska and how well they started off, and then they kind of fell down. But hey, they're trying to get it right, and being in the Big Ten tournament coming up, and see if they can right the ship to at least get an invite to the tournament. I mean, I don't know how it's going to look for them, but damn, they did start off hot as hell, man. I started looking at them like, damn, Nebraska's.
Yeah, they got to win at least 2 to 3 games in that Big Ten tournament, or
damn,
I don't think they're making it.
That's gonna be tough, man. Because the Big Ten is kicking some ass, and it's a good thing when Michigan and Michigan State are doing well this year. I like that, man. And I'm not a fan of either, but I like that they took both teams, especially with Coach Izzo, Tom Izzo, being at Michigan State. But Michigan and Michigan State doing well. They played one another a week ago. So
is Ohio State? Ohio State are there?
Yeah, they're in it, but Illinois is actually making some noise this year. Darren, I haven't seen him making that much noise since Darren Williams was there years ago.
Lon Kruger's old stomping grounds.
Lon Kruger, man, what a name! Old school.
He did a minute with the Gators, maybe a year.
Yeah, well, wish they could.
I think Oklahoma. I think he went to Oklahoma after that. So
Oklahoma. Let me see. I don't know who was Oklahoma when he went there. Not Stacey King.
Yeah. I mean, they were okay. He was a good coach, but the thing was, Florida, Gainesville didn't care about basketball back then. They really didn't. I mean, they started to get good under Kruger, and Kruger was like, these guys don't support basketball. I'm out of here. And so that's what was so exciting about. I hadn't been to a game in a few years. To see the Rowdy Reptiles down there this year. And, we were just starting to feel it because we're getting hand-locked him back, and we're starting to go on the winning streak, man. Just a lot of energy there against the Gamecocks.
Bro, but I think that, no matter what you do there, it's going to be a lot like Kentucky. Kentucky's always going to be a basketball school regardless of what they do up there football-wise. The Gators are always going to be a football school first. Basketball would be nice. That's all it's going to be. Because even with those back-to-back championships they had in basketball, that football team is still going to bring in all the numbers and get all the attention. And you know how life on campus is over in Gainesville. When you go out to Gainesville, it's all Gator football. Just like when you go out to Tallahassee, regardless of the basketball team, it's all Florida State, period. Nothing else even matters. Even
Tim Couch comes through Kentucky, still basketball.
Yeah, I know, right? Tim Couch. He did hell. Him and Hal Mummy, man, they put up some ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get the hell out of here already. And this thing has been off the rails since we talked about Steve Smith.
I wonder who brought that up.
Yeah,
Ice up, son.
It's sports, man. It's a pretty damn big story.
But
Surprising.
don't you remember? Was he with the Ravens? And they told him, I think he was going off at halftime or something, and they were going, "Hey, that defensive back got taken out of the game," and Steve Smith just goes, "Ice up, son, ice up."
Steve Smith. Anyway, let's get the hell up out of here. This show is coming to an end. We'll be back on Thursday, the Sports Back Bros podcast. We'll come up with something. The way things are going, especially with the combine being what it is, we may have another boxing show. You just don't know, or just name a couple of players.
No.
Best point guards or best whatever, football play. Best football play. This is the combine. Come on. Best combine performances. The lies they keep saying about Bo running a 4.13 electronic time. Believe
You want to do a preview, Trav, of the number 1 pick, Cam Ward?
Nah. We can talk about that when it comes because I don't think he should be the number 1 pick.
Last year we did the draft live.
Yeah, we did the draft live last year. So
we had like 5 people on the show.
Yeah, we had Coach Bruno coming in from Europe, man. He was coming in from where the hell is Coach Bruno out in Romania, some damn where? He came on here. You know, he's
like
coaching some
match.
Yeah, he's out there with Coach Dish. You know Coach Dish that used to coach at Ed White. Yeah, he's out there with Coach Dish out there freaking Europe coaching football. He was the offensive coordinator last time I picked up on it. He got that job late in the season. But anyway, he may come back on again. He was asking me to come down during Florida Georgia week to make videos with the rowdy crowd that's down there. And I, of course, decided not to do it. But anyway, he's biased. I'm Trav, and that's Scott. And the Sports Back Bros podcast will be coming to an end, coming back at you on a Thursday. Until then, deuces.
Later.